would like to call this meeting of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School District to order, please. Offering first rise for the pledge. Mr. Keller, would you please lead us?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. First we'll do the roll and then... No? Oath first? All right, we'll begin with the oath then. Mayor Devine?
Good evening. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
All right. Thank you again for the opportunity to swear in the 3 returning members from the school board. And I do want to take a minute also to thank the challenger for running, Jess Keys. It's always, as we know, it's easy to talk about things, but it does take a lot to actually step up and run. So I want to commend her for doing more than talking and stepping up, as well as all of you, including the 3 that will be swearing in tonight. And thank you for the efforts and the attempts to continue to strengthen this district and improve this district. And as we all know, that is a huge component and a huge factor in drawing people to the city. So we appreciate the work that you do. We will begin, I think we'll go in alphabetical order. So that would be Ms. Heather Justin coming up first. Sure. Okay, please raise your right hand and repeat after me. I, Heather Justin,
I, Heather Justin,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States.
swear that I will, excuse me.
Sure.
And
Support.
swear, thank you, swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Jeff Sikich. Yeah, looks good. I guess I am too. I, Jeff Sikich,
I, Jeff Sikich,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations, Jeff.
Thank you.
Go get her.
Good job, Jeff. Good to see you. Please raise your hand. Right hand. I, Bill Ustruck,
I, Bill Ustruck,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
having been elected to the office of the West Dallas West Milwaukee School Board,
but have not yet entered upon the duties thereof,
but not have yet entered upon the duties thereof,
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and the Constitution of the State of Wisconsin,
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
and will faithfully discharge the duties of said office
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
So help me God.
So help me God.
Congratulations.
Thank you
again.
very much. All right, now we can do all, yes.
Ms. Klug,
Here.
Mr. Schultz,
Present.
Mr. Bailey is excused, Mr. Lee,
Here.
Mr. Ustrup,
Here.
Mrs. Justum,
Here.
Mr. Sikich,
Present.
Mr. Keller,
Here.
President Emmons.
Yep. Proper notice of this meeting has been posted in accordance with the open meeting laws of the state of Wisconsin. Do we have any additions or modifications to tonight's agenda?
I have nothing.
Board members? All right. We'll then move on to public comments. Are there any public comments this evening? Okay. We We will then move on to the superintendent's report.
All right, thank you. So it's a shorter report because without school being in session, we don't have a school presentation or students. In terms of legislative update, first there's a new Marquette University Law School poll that was released on April 10th. And 70% of respondents say that the state should accept federal funds to expand Medicaid coverage. Well, only 23% said no, and 74% favor a major increase in state aid for special education. Well, 19% say they do not, and both of those would benefit us if they come through the budget process. A little bit of background on special education funding. There's a lot of discussion around it right now in the 1921 budget. So just for background and for the public, say public schools are required by law to fund special education services regardless of cost. Right? So whatever students need that's identified in an individual education program, we're required to fund. Wisconsin special education categorical aid is distributed on a cost reimbursement basis. So our current reimbursement rate is about 25% on prior year costs. Wisconsin special education aid has been frozen at $369 million for the last 10 years. And collectively, Wisconsin school districts transfer more than $1 billion annually from district general funds to cover the funding gap between required special education costs and current state funding. So that's why there's so much interest in to see if the funding for special education is going to be improved in the budget. It's also true that districts do not incur special education costs at uniform rates. However, per pupil categorical aid reimburses districts on an equal per pupil basis. And increasing special education aid will more equitably reimburse those districts with high special needs populations, and we would benefit from that and or high special education costs. It should be noted that Wisconsin identifies students for special education services at about the national average. In terms of district recognitions, a few things. There are 3 recipients of Title I Schools of Recognition awards. Title I Schools of Recognition are in the top 25% of high poverty schools in the state and have above average student achievement in reading and math when compared to schools from similarly sized district schools, grade configurations, and poverty levels. The 3 schools recognized in our district this year are Frank Lloyd Wright, Longfellow, and Pershing, and we're really proud of the work they're doing and continue to do. We've seen more schools in the past, but this year the requirements were changed, so the bar is set a little bit higher. But the fact that we're still having 3 schools recognized is good news for us. At Shared Journeys, former student Kaylee Breska received her Child Care Provider 1 certification and is now a child care provider for the Shared Journeys Infant Lab, so that's kind of cool. Shared Journeys was awarded 2 Kohl's field trip grants for the 1920 school year, and the Knights of Columbus awarded Shared Journeys with a $1,000 grant, and they are also financing the cost of an emergency exit door needed in the infant lab. And I want to thank the Knights of Columbus in particular for that donation. It's actually about a $30,000 expense that they decided to pay for, and it's in order for the infant lab to add any more than 5 infants, they have to have an immediate exit door, so that's being put in. And it's all been passed or approved by the church board and by the Shared Journeys board, and it's really a nice gift from Knights of Columbus. West Milwaukee Intermediate School, the West Milwaukee Student Council raised $3,631.96 to support Pennies for Patients during the month of March. So good for the students there. Irving Elementary School on April 13th, the Irving Elementary School PTA was recognized with several awards at the Wisconsin State PTA Awards Dinner held in Brookfield. They earned top honors by being named State PTA of the Year for the 2nd consecutive year. Irving PTA President Shannon Lobens accepted the award. And at Walker Elementary School, the Walker School Enrichment Committee, that's Patty Kaesler, Lucretia Hines, Michelle Wolliver, and Heather Kinzel, received a grant this year to be part of the My Plate demonstration. At the school, they welcomed Chef Julie to the school to share information about the importance of eating fruits and vegetables. And during an assembly, Chef Julie demonstrated how to make 2 very delicious and healthy salads, and students enjoyed a sample and took home the recipes. And at Wilson Elementary, Wilson staff support each other, both personally and professionally. Staff members there organized a fundraiser to raise money for a teacher and her family to have an Autism on the Sea adventure. And that's the recognitions. And then just a couple quick updates. The public comments from our April 8th meeting were responded to in writing. The board received a copy of that, and that also went to the individual that made the comments. The elementary principal hiring continues. That's for Jefferson, Wilson, and Longfellow. Last week I conducted the listening sessions at Jefferson and Wilson, and that's a process of asking staff and then parents to come in and identify the characteristics that they think are most important for their school and the new principal. Then we turn that into a quick survey. So there's about 10 or 11 sometimes that surface. And then it goes back out to all parents, all staff, so everybody has an opportunity to have a voice in the process. And then we ask them to pick their top 5. And then there's also a comment box. And then the top 5 and all of the comments go to the second round interview panel. So that's a school interview panel that's comprised of teachers, parents. We usually try to get the head secretary involved because it's a really important relationship. And from the first round, we send forward, from the interviews we've done here, we send forward anyone we believe would make a really great principal at a Jefferson or at a Wilson. But it's the school's responsibility to decide who's the right match. And when I explained it to staff is, I'm a pretty good judge of what makes a good principal, but I don't work at Jefferson every day or Wilson every day, right? I don't know it's the right fit for them. And in this process, it's possible they could also say none of the above, right? We could send 3 people forward. Right, it happened once last year. We could send 3 people forward, and they could say none of these are a match, and then we start again. But that's where we are in that process. And then I also started doing walkthroughs with principals and members of Deidre's team, visiting classrooms, and it's part of my formal observation of the principals, part of their evaluation process. So that's ongoing, and it's kind of cool to be in classrooms and here and there kids go, oh, I recognize you. So I was like, okay, well, I'm around a little bit, I guess. And then this past week, Deidre and I also attended the Shared Journeys board meeting. And we started some conversation there about, is there an opportunity to expand enrollment through open enrollment to provide those kind of services and supports for students from other school districts? And we're kind of at the beginning phases of that, and I asked Claire, one of the attorneys that we work with, to first take a look at kind of under the statutes, can we do something like that really targets a specific need? So that's a beginning conversation, and just wanted the board to be aware of it. And that concludes the superintendent's report.
Great, thank you. All right, we'll move on to the board calendar. So tonight, Monday, April 22nd, we have a regular Board of Education meeting. And then on Monday, May 6th, starting at 6 o'clock, we have a regular Board of Education meeting. Following that, a financial stability and efficiency workshop on the proposed 1920 budget and preliminary tax levy. On Monday, May 13th, starting at 6 p.m., we have a potential workshop, which that will be decided and notified shortly. And then Monday, May 20th, starting at 6 o'clock, our regular Board of Education meeting, and then immediately following, we will do a workshop on board development with Drew. We'll be coming back. And then on Tuesday, May 28th, from 4 to 7, is the employee recognition reception, and that is going to be at New Berlin Hills Golf Course. Do any board members have any community updates or anything that they would like to share? Jeff?
Next Friday, May 3rd, is the Monogram Scholarship Dance.
Okay.
And that is being held at the New Berlin Ale House. We used to have it at Knights of Columbus, but they are no longer, starting May 1st, accepting any kind of
Okay.
entertainment.
Thank you. Heather?
I believe it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday this weekend is Anne Frank at Central, right?
Yeah, I think that's right.
Right,
This week.
I think it's Thursday, Friday, Saturday this week.
Anybody have anything else? All right. Then we will move on to the consent agenda. There are 4 items on the consent agenda this evening. Item 9.1, the approval of minutes from the April 8th, 2019 regular Board of Education meeting and the April 15th, 2019 board workshop meeting. Item 9.2, the employment summary. Item 9.3, the supplementary contracts, and item 9.4, the financial summary. Does anyone wish to have anything separated? Jeff?
Yes, 9.2.
9.2, okay, we'll separate that out. Anything else, anybody else? Okay, if not, then we would look for a motion on 9.1, 9.3, and 9.4.
So moved.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right, item 9.2.
Move to approve. Second.
Did you need to?
Just a question.
Yep.
Oh, sorry.
I tried to get hold of Jeff Friday, and you might have been out of town and today. But when I was reading through this last week, Thursday night, I was just curious, are any of the retirements people that took advantage of our one-time early retirement?
Wow. I don't think so, not this round.
But they still, the timeline is still out there for them
Correct.
to do that?
Correct, they have until May 10th to notify us, and the reason we did it this way is then contracts are due May 15th, and that's the same time as the final notice of non-renewals. So it gives us a little window in there of 5 days to see if there's any teachers that wouldn't get the final notice.
I mean, I just was curious about it and wouldn't have even asked it if I'd have talked to Jeff, so, thank you.
All right, so we've got item 9.2, we had a motion and a second. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? Great, that passes. We'll go on to our action items for this evening. Caitlin, you want to just kind of dig in up here for a while? So item 10.1 first is our authority for administrators to issue final non-renewal notices to teachers.
So, just like I mentioned, that's a requirement that if we're reducing or if there's non-renewals for performance reasons, that notification has to be delivered by May 15th, and we need the board's authority to do that.
Move to approve?
Second?
Moved, improved, and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Go on to item 10.2, the transportation contract extension.
So our contract with First Student is a 3-year contract ending 18-19 with the option to extend for 2 additional years beyond that with a 2.5% increase. So we are requesting that the board approve that extension for 2 years, and that way we're locking in the 2.5% increase and avoid a loss of efficiencies that comes with, creating a new RFP and going with a new bus company. So we're asking the board to approve that contract extension for 2 years.
I will be recusing myself.
Okay, we've got one recusal. Noel?
I just wanted to comment a little bit about this because this came to our committee. So it was discussed originally as a 1-year renewal, and that was something that we went back and forth about. We've all received some, complaints from time to time about busing, and we wanted to make sure to kind of take into consideration those complaints when we were making this, evaluation. And we did request, and it's something that's going to be requested of the bus company, is some more hard numbers about like what buses are late, how often they're late, and things like that. So moving forward, we can have some hard numbers on that we can evaluate on, because my concern was, I think the committee's concern was if it's like kind of the same route that's always late, it's always the same kids that are being affected, that we can keep track of that sort of thing so that we can try to be more proactive, working with the bus company to try to ensure that we're not, affecting one group of students more than others because of that. We understand that things happen and there's subs and things like that that occur that can result in these sorts of issues, but I just want to make sure that we weren't keeping good track of it, and I just want to make sure that we're doing that. And then it was brought up when we brought forward a First Student about the 1-year option that we had to renew. They basically came back and said, well, if you renew 1 year, but if you're not going to be able to do this again next year, basically. So if you want to do it again next year, you have to decide this year in order to do it. And we have ultimately agreed with that just from the perspective it's a known cost versus an unknown cost if you go to RFP. And with the understanding that we would still be evaluating that. So after this next year, we'd have some numbers and say, okay, we've had X amount % late, or this school is worse than others, whatever, that we could say, okay, what are you going to do to fix? What do you do to try to improve that situation? So just so that the board is aware of the conversation that we had. I don't know if anyone else wants to, from the committee wants to add.
Okay, great. Thank you for that background, too. I think that's very helpful. Any other comments or questions for Caitlin? If not, we look for a motion.
Move to approve 10.2?
Second?
Moved, improved, and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? All right, we've got 7, and then all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
And opposed? And one recusal. Okay. All right, and we will go on to item 10.3, school district financial depositories.
This is just an annual item, so the attached document that you have lists all of our banks that we use. So we're just approving the use of these going forward.
Move to approve?
Second.
You okay?
Sorry.
Okay. We've moved, improved, and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's passed. Item 10.4, the release of the 2019-2020 purchase orders.
So again, just an annual item, we're opening purchase orders for 1920. Best practice is that we start spending our money in summer, even before the school year starts. So we're making sure we're spending our dollars on that fiscal year on our students. So we're opening the purchase orders for 1920.
Move to approve.
Second.
When did we open purchase orders for 18-19?
When did we?
Yeah, was it about late April last year as well? Was it
I would
end of
give you
April?
the same
Okay.
time.
Just for consistency, so. you
Yep.
know. Okay, so we've been moved and approved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Item 10.5, the revised 2019-2020 budget calendar.
So the change to this one is just moving back the board workshop from that proposed budget workshop that was going to take place today to the next board meeting, Monday, May 6th. And that'll give us a little bit more time. We're going to be looking into board priorities and doing a bit of an exercise with that. So that just gives us a little bit more time as directors to figure out the best way that we want to move that forward. And therefore, we're moving that budget workshop to May 6th.
And that's the only change, correct?
That's the only change.
Motion to approve?
Second.
Okay, moved, approved, and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? If not, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 10.6, the 2019-2020 delegation of leasing authority.
So again, it's an annual item. The only facility we have that was, I think, available for any kind of leasing is Parkway, which will continue to lease to CISA. That seems to be a really good fit, and that has, after the initial kind of dust settled, has worked out really well, and I think neighbors are happy with it. But it transfers the authority from the board to myself and Caitlin to continue that lease.
Move to approve. Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions? Not all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Item 10.7, new course proposals and resource adoptions.
So, Deidre's not with us this evening because she's teaching a class, and the board remembers that she originally signed up to teach a course for UWM on a Tuesday, and all of a sudden they changed it to a Monday, so that's why she hasn't been with us. But we did the workshop on this when we had a number of teachers and other staff kind of work us through kind of the recommendations and the process, and so this is now coming back, so we get these approved and we can move forward.
Any questions?
Move to approve.
Second?
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments, questions, clarifications? Not. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. And item 10.8, designating the Southwest Now as a paper for publishing board minutes.
Right, so school boards are required to designate a publication, a newspaper, for all board minutes, and so this is an annual item as well.
Move to approve.
Second.
Moved and seconded. Any additional comments or questions?
Just one comment. Are you
Yeah.
sure the NOW knows that West Allis school districts exist? Because there was nothing at all about our board election, or the school board elections.
Our sports are getting the
Nothing.
shaft. Yeah, there's not a
Okay.
lot out there, so.
Yeah. I agree.
And so we're adopting them, why then?
Well, it's either that or the Journal Sentinel, and that's gonna be a lot more money to try to put minutes
Sure,
in
I
there. So this
understand.
at least is a much more fixed cost,
Yeah.
so which is important. And to
Yep.
be fair, many people in the community at least do read the online version, if not the paper version that comes out on Wednesdays, so. So we had a motion and we had a second. Was there any additional comments or questions? All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Well, that was, I think, a record.
Holy moly.
Good luck, everyone. All right, this meeting is now adjourned.